Welcome back. Well, this project video is the result of a viewer request. So, what we're going to do today is we are going to clean up some copper. And I have some copper that we are going to be cleaning. And we're going to talk about all of the ways you can do it and a few of the ways that, well, I guess you can, but you really shouldn't. When we come back. Okay, we are starting with some copper pieces. Let me start with this one because this is my teapot. Now, I should have cleaned this off a while ago, but seeing as I knew I would be doing this video, I've sort of let it get a little grubby, well, a lot grubby for you so that you can see this is not a clean pot. This is, in fact, a rather filthy pot. But as I said, we had a viewer, well, actually we've had more than one viewer write in and say, can you show us how to clean copper? Well, if you take a look at this, you can see very quickly. I hope you can see very quickly. I hope you've been paying attention that we have an Art Moderne teapot here, which means that the teapot is probably from the 1930s, at latest the 1940s, but it's very likely it's almost definitely pre-World War II, even though it's a teapot, there's no markings on it. The style alone tells us Art Moderne. So, not new. The first thing that you want to do when you're cleaning anything is wash it with soap and water. That's number one. You want to get the debris off it. That's before you're even going to get into the cleaning and polishing of it. You want the grime and the filth and the stuff that will wash off. You want to get that washed off. Next thing is what I have here is copper cleaner. What I have here is a silver cleaner. And silver cleaner, a silver polish. Tarnish remover. Metal polish for brass and copper and all metals. Now, this is going to be stronger than the rest because you notice it's not for silver. And the least abrasive cleaners are the ones you use for silver. However, you will find that a silver cleaner and a copper cleaner are very much the same. That they're probably interchangeable for most intents and purposes. And even something like this kind of silver polish, yeah. So let's start with Tarnex. Now, Tarnex is a tarnish remover. And let's see, it says, for sterling silver, silver plate, platinum, copper, gold, and diamonds. So you notice it's saying it will get the tarnish off copper too. So that's going to be our first choice. Notice what a nice job it does. Now, Tarnex smells awful. Kind of smells like rotten eggs. I don't know what to tell you. Actually, I do know what to tell you. There was a time when Tarnex smelled a lot worse than this. There was a time when the formula was a lot more, well, caustic, I guess, and it really stank to high heaven. But they modified it, presumably because people were reluctant to buy it. But okay, here. Now I'm going to close up my Tarnex, and this is just a damp rag. I just want to get that Tarnex off. You could in fact run it under water, but we don't need to really do that. Now notice, let's see if I can get my finger on it. See that spot right there? That is in the area that I've cleaned. There's still a little bit of a residual spot. This is where things like our copper cleaner or silver cleaner, as I say, you can use both. I use this quite a lot, as you can see. All you're going to do is just rub it in, a little bit of elbow grease, not a lot. And let's see. Oh, all gone. Well, the spot that I had picked out before is all gone, but I've got a couple other little spots that I'm just going to buff up here. This is just a plain paper towel. All right. Now, can you see how shiny that is? Before, it was clean, but it was a little on the dull side. Now, look at that. You can even see the little ding in it. Just that easy. Now, of course, I'm going to do the whole thing. Okay, so you can see what kind of difference a little bit of cleaning can make. Ultimately, with something like copper, what it boils down to is cleaning it regularly, frequently. Don't let it get this grubby. If you let something get that dirty, you're going to have that much more of a job to clean it up. I would say that you want to clean your copper when you start to see little spots on it. I don't know what in the world these spots are from. Sometimes it will just happen to a pot that's been hanging up there for, forever, a pot that I haven't used in a month, or I'll still see these odd little spots. You're going to want to clean it regularly because frankly, it's easier to clean it if you do it regularly. By the way, the handle is brass, and I'm using the Tarnex to clean the brass. It does work, even though I don't think Tarnex says you can clean brass with it, does it? Okay. No, it does not say you can clean brass with it. However, I'm going to show you that you can, in fact, clean brass with the Tarnex. It will get all of this superficial tarnish off, and you don't even need to use the brass polish on the brass. You can just go over it with the copper polish as long as you've got the bulk of the tarnish off the piece, the copper polish or the silver polish, or quite frankly, the toothpaste, because I'm pretty sure we covered that on one of our little handy household hacks, that toothpaste in a pinch makes a good silver polish. Wouldn't use it all the time because I think toothpaste is probably a little more abrasive than, especially the whitening toothpastes, than I would want for my silver. Good Lord, to think you use that stuff on your teeth too. Let's just show you what this is like with, and now this is just the Tarnex and the copper polish. There you go. Oh, and I haven't done this part down here, so you can see the difference, how nice and shiny this is. Copper is not hard to clean, but like anything, the longer you let it sit dirty, the harder it will be to clean it. Now, of course, as I say, I let my teapot sit dirty for a while because I wanted it to be dirty so you could see. If it was clean, I could be doing this and you'd say, oh, well, who cares? It's clean. But I want you to see that cleaning copper is remarkably easy. And Tarnex, in my opinion, is the key. Now, mind you, I could get the same results from copper polish, from silver polish, from anything that's called silver cleaner or copper cleaner. I would just have to put a little more elbow grease into the process. So the brass cleaner you're going to save for something that is really extraordinarily grubby. And use it with caution. What are you not going to use? Well, steel wool. You're not going to use steel wool. You're not going to use sandpaper. Anything like that can put so many scratches into your copper that you, believe me, you're going to regret it if you do it. Yes, it'll probably get your copper looking coppery as opposed to, there's all the tarnish and grubbies. Yes, it's going to take that off, but it's going to leave you with just an army of scratches, more than you really bargained for. It's not the way you want to go. So I would say no to the steel wool. I would use metal polish or brass cleaners. I would use them with restraint. I would use them with caution. I would be very careful about doing it because you're basically using a harsher cleaner than you need to. Now, I will grant you, this is my teapot. This is not something that I pulled out of, a junk shop that's just been sitting and possibly abused for a long time. This is something that was sitting on my stove. Yes, I let it go dirty, but I didn't abuse it. And a lot of the things that we buy when we get antique or vintage items have been abused. And yeah, that is a consideration. If you have something that's been hopelessly abused, if it's battered, if it's beaten up, you can recover it. But the best way to do it is just with elbow grease. Just reconcile yourself to the fact that you're going to be polishing your copper for like a month. Whenever you find yourself with a few extra minutes, just polish it up a little more and a little more, and you will, in fact, be able to bring it back to life. I'm honestly not seeing a set of circumstances in which I would advocate steel wool. However, having said that, let's suppose you buy a copper teapot that you love to death because it's art moderne. and somebody else cleaned it with steel wool, and you have nothing but scratches all over it. How can you deal with that? All right. Now, you know the caveat is you're not the one who cleaned it with steel wool. You didn't put those scratches in it. You can get steel wool in a variety of roughnesses, abrasive levels. You can get very coarse steel wool. You can get very fine steel wool. I'm thinking if you have a piece like this that has been scratched up with steel wool, it's probably been something like a Brillo pad. That's probably about medium steel wool. You're going to need to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace like that and get some fine steel wool. If your piece is badly scratched, really bad, get some medium steel wool as well as some fine steel wool. You start with the medium steel wool. Buff out as many of the scratches as you can. Since you're using medium steel wool, you're going to be leaving some of your own scratches behind. It's not going to come out with this mirror glossy shine. It's going to be scratched. So then move to fine steel wool. Finer, finer. When you get to your fine steel wool, the one that, it doesn't even bother your hands when you're holding it, by then you should be able to easily switch over to your metal polish. And this is our copper brass all metals. This is Wyman. My favorite brand is Brasso. I just couldn't find the Brasso. And it comes in a little blue and white, red, white, and blue can. Get yourself some Brasso and a cloth. You will be able to buff the scratches from fine steel wool out with the Brasso. It's just a question of using finer and finer steel wool until eventually you could let the abrasive of the metal polish take over. Then at that point, when you've got virtually all of your scratches out, go over to your copper polish or your silver polish. But that's how you do it. But it is a process. A badly scratched piece, as I say, you're going to want to use a medium steel wool at first and then finer and finer. In any case, even this piece, which has not been abused, if I looked at it very carefully, I'm sure I will find scratches somewhere. I am not the original owner of this. I have no idea what was done to it before it hit my hands. I believe it was reasonably well cared for. When I got it, it was in pretty good shape. A few little dings, no big deal, given the fact that the piece is probably 80 or 90 years. Well, it's 2020 and this is 30s, 40s at latest. It's probably about 90 years old. No, it was pretty well cared for. But again, start with medium. If it's so badly scratched that you need to look at the really rough steel wool, it may not be recoverable. So start with your medium, buff out the scratches. Just work at it. Oh, by the way, and go in circles. I'm sorry, I should have said that to begin with. Don't go back and forth. If you go back and forth, you will probably gouge it and make too much of a mess. So go in circles. Was it the Karate Kid? Yes, wax floor, or whatever it was they were saying. Good heavens. You can tell I'm not a media baby. I don't even know what the Karate Kid was about. Anyway, little circles, buff the scratches out, medium to fine to finest. Do not think that you're going to be able to buff out deep scratches with sandpaper. That would be a huge mistake. And by the way, I've seen people do that. No. Just gradually, finer and finer, get over to your metal polish, and then move into the silver polish. The silver polish should take out the very fine scratches. That is how I would do it, assuming someone else had gouged it up with steel wool, because you're not going to be doing that. Remember, whatever is going on with your piece, the problem is on the surface. So you're going to want to clean it and not just like scrape the finish off of it. It's not what you want to do. So just don't give in to the temptation to engage in overkill and just beat the crap out of it. Okay, so hopefully, as you can see, not a big deal. I should probably spend another 10 minutes with this, but relatively easy. You saw how dirty it was before, and pretty much done. And remember, brass can be cleaned with copper cleaner or silver cleaner, especially if it hasn't been allowed to get too grubby. All right. Hopefully that has helped. Now let's take a quick look at word origins and their romantic histories. Is that what it is? Romantic stories, not histories. How about some word histories of your garden? Larkspur. Our bird, the lark, is noted for his long, straight hind claw, and if you will look at the spur-shaped flowers called larkspur, you will see the resemblance at once. So, larkspur was named after a bird. Laurel. The name for this tree came from the Latin laurus, and in Roman days the foliage was often used as a crown of distinction in athletics or even in academic honors. The name of our poet laureate came from those times when he too was honored with the laurel or the bay. The creation of the tree itself is told in mythology. When Daphne, a Greek nymph, was pursued by Apollo, she prayed for aid, so the gods turned her into a laurel, and Apollo, being a sentimental fellow, adopted it as his favorite tree. Lilac. Lilac simply means blue. From the Persian lilac, bluish, which passed into Arabic as laylac. In the 16th century, the plant was brought to England by the Spanish, who called it lilac, whence it was borrowed into English. Lily. A word with a simple history contributed to us by the Latin lilium that applies to the same flower. Lobelia. Tolkien fans will certainly remember that one. That was one of that Aunt Lobelia, one of the Hobbit relatives. Named for the Flemish botanist Matthias de Lobel, who was physician to King James I of England. This is a tropical or subtropical plant with blue, red, yellow, or whitish flowers that are extremely showy. How about magnolia? And we'll stop with that. Here is a plant whose bark and flowers are both fragrant, this fragrance being once used in China to season rice. The magnolia was named after Pierre Magnol, professor of botany at Montpellier, France. All right, interesting little flower name histories. All right. We will see you tomorrow. Meantime, have a great day. And remember, silver polish will clean your copper. See you later.